Now from Atlanta News First Plus, this is Sports Tonight.
All right, Ellie, they let us do it again. Can you imagine that?
They let us out of the cages.
They let us get out the cages again. So guess what? We have to act up the way you have. We have to act up the way we know how. Welcome to Sports Tonight here on a Friday. I'm sports producer Scott Pennyman. Let me say it right. I'm sports producer Scott Pennyman. Here with the great Ellie. Ellie, how you feeling?
Doing all right. It's Friday. It's my Wednesday, unfortunately, so I'm not quite done yet.
That's the crazy thing about TV, right? I mean, everyone else in real life works the Monday through Friday shift, and Friday arrives, and they're like, thank goodness it's Friday.
I mean, half this newsroom is like, thank God it's Friday. It's like, it's Wednesday
right,
for
exactly.
me.
And for me,
it's the middle of my week.
For me, it's Thursday, but you can see Friday on the horizon. But that's okay because we don't get down like the rest of America about having to go to work and Mondays and everything like that because we get to do stuff like this. We get to come on TV and basically do things that we would do for free at home. I mean, you'd be amazed at how many times I'm on the phone and me and my best friend and we're sitting there talking and 2 hours later we're still talking about whatever in NBA draft or whatever. So you know what? That's a good starting point. Let's start there. So obviously the Hawks made their, they got the #1 overall pick, right? That's where we're starting now, right? We're starting with some Hawks, right? Okay, that's one to make sure we have right. Make sure you're prepared to talk about it. So obviously NBA draft all wrapped up. The Hawks had the #1 overall pick. They took the Frenchman with the first overall pick, Zachary Risacher. Right, I got it right again. I nailed it again. From France. So there's been varying opinions as far as where his game is at and what he's going to be, how early he's going to be able to contribute to the team. How close can he be to Wemby?
Yeah.
Who knows, right?
He's not. Quit. Stop it.
Come on, Ellie. Is there even just a bit of, optimism in your voice?
Here's the thing. Here is the thing.
Okay.
I am actually more optimistic about this pick than a lot of other people because my expectations aren't Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah.
My expectations are Zachary Risacher.
Right.
Just let him do his game. Just let him do his game. I've seen people give the Hawks a C+ grade.
Yeah.
For this draft. No. What are you talking about here?
Well, see, that's what's so hard because. And that's what I mean by expectation. When somebody's taking #1 overall, there's going to be oftentimes unreasonable expectation placed on the young man. And that's what I fear for Mr. Risacher, right? Because he's a young 19-year-old kid. He's only, 18, 19 years old. Yep. So he's a young kid, still has so much to learn about the game of basketball. But I think what helps him, though, is we've seen so many of these foreign players come to the United States and have a lot of success because the game has changed so much from a physicality standpoint, from a rule standpoint. So I think that's the one thing he has going in his favor is that the way the game has changed, it'll benefit more foreign players. So that's one good thing. So I think that I think the adjustment might not be as hard as it would have been in recent years. Now, but I think a lot of it is where you talk about is where the Hawks are at right now, just from a roster standpoint. Even like Landry, he was out there talking about how this team has yet to find an identity. They have some good players on the roster, but they have yet to find an identity, who fits, who doesn't.
It's almost like having the #1 pick helps you find an identity.
It may help them find an identity, and maybe they found a player that they want to just totally rebuild things around, which is entirely possible. So the Hawks draft picks made it to town today, and they were strolled out there for the media, including their second-round pick. They were strolled out there for the media to answer questions, and you can definitely hear the excitement in their voices about their new journey being with the Hawks. And hey, look, maybe this helps them find a direction, which we've always talked about last couple of years, that this team doesn't seem to have one. So maybe this is the start of a new beginning as far as where they're headed. So they talked to the media today, and they talked to us, exclusively too. Well, not exclusively, but there's some one-on-ones and stuff like that. So let's hear from them today as they talked out at Emory Courts to the media for the first time. And let's hear the excitement in their voice about being NBA players and being drafted.
Talk to me about the last 48 hours. How tired are you from getting drafted, doing media, getting to Atlanta, and just going through the process now?
The last 48 hours been great, but like I'm really tired right now, and but you know that's a process, and I'm super excited to be here. I really feel like that was the right place for me, the right organization, the right city, and I'm super grateful for all I have, and just can't wait to finally be done with all the media stuff and can go back on the court and do what I love.
What's been the craziest thing to happen in the last 48 hours?
Besides getting drafted,
Yes, besides getting drafted.
so I would probably say the private jet. That was kind of crazy for me. Yeah, that was amazing. But yeah, but also being like be able to live this kind of experience with all my family was the better things, you know.
You talked about that moment with your family when you had time to just reflect and be with them and cry. What emotions did you feel the most in that moment to enjoy this process and being the #1 pick in the 2024 draft with your family?
That was amazing. I really can't describe how I felt in this moment, but I just know, when I heard my name, uh, everything goes fast, and I had to do right away media and for maybe 1 hour. So I was getting emotional, but I was like, I can't cry on TV, or I just, that, especially I gotta talk in English, so that's gonna be too hard if I'm crying, So I was, uh, I was waiting to get it with my family so I can, let it go. I didn't know that was like that was about to be like that. So like so emotional, but it happened, and yeah, I was just finally with my family and enjoying the the fact that I was getting drafted an hour ago. So yeah, that was amazing, and that's a moment I will never forget for sure.
So you get on the private jet, you land in Atlanta. What were your first impressions of being back here in Atlanta?
That was great. I mean, everything the last 48 hours was amazing, and so landing in Atlanta, was we finally here, but also we was on the airport, so we didn't see much. So I really wanted to, discover a little bit the city and in the Cap, and that was great. And now that I'm here, I just can't wait to get a place to live, and there's so much thing that I want to do, and but I know that's gonna be amazing, like all the process being.
You joked on draft night about, experiencing all this, being at this facility, and you can actually sleep here and be in the gym nonstop, be a gym rat. Have you found a place to sleep here?
I might have found a place because that's yeah, that's so much comfortable, and everything is set up to like to be able to work the right way, to improve yourself as a player, and also just to make you feel like you're at home, and that's amazing, and I'm really happy to be a part of the organization, to be a part of the whole family, because I really feel like every people around here is super great, and yeah, I'm just glad to be a part of this family right now.
Thank you, Zachary. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
the time always. Hey,
Thank you.
you just told me you're running on 1 hour of sleep. How can you just describe the last 24 hours for yourself?
The last 24 hours were crazy. I didn't know if I was gonna go undrafted or I was gonna be drafted. I didn't know nothing. So I got drafted. I was like preparing, got drafted. Couldn't call my parents because of the 6-hour difference back home. I waited until 2 a.m. for them to wake up. I called them, and I slept for like 1 hour. Went straight to the airport. Came here doing interviews, and that's it. Like I'm awake for like good 24 hours right now. So yeah.
That's insane. Tell me, you tell your parents, what was the reaction when you said, "Hey, I'm going to Atlanta"?
I mean, they were not surprised because I did the best workout here in Atlanta, and I told them after the practice, yeah, I'm going here 100%, you know. So my dad believed me, my mom didn't, you know. So my mom was crying a little bit, I think, over the phone. I'm not sure. My dad was like acting tough, but yeah.
What was your impression of the Hawks organization when you came here for your workout?
I mean, it was literally great. Like from Landry, Kyle, all of those guys like really helped me when they got here. You know, they were like Coach Quinn also, they were like talking with me, you know. They were like pretty honest with me, and I felt like a part of the family already. So yeah, it was like pretty good, like the facility, also the people in here. So yeah, it was like.
That's awesome. When you talked to Quinn about your role within this team, what were those conversations like, and what was his vision for you?
What can I say? Top secret.
That's fair. That's fair. You're coming in with Zachary. What's it like to have someone else, you know, who's an international player that you can bond with as you guys get acclimated with the Hawks?
Yeah, I mean, he's from France. I'm from Serbia, so he played also overseas, pro. I don't know him that much. I've seen him play a little bit, but like it's definitely like helpful to have like a European next to you, like almost the same age. So yeah, I think we're gonna be a good teammates.
What were your first impressions of Atlanta? I know you've only been here a few hours, but just taking it all in.
Hot, a lot of traffic. Yeah, those two things, yeah.
You better get used to it. The next step is pretty much going to Las Vegas for the G League. What do you anticipate as you kind of get your feet wet with the team?
I mean, can't wait for the training camp to start first. You know, meet the guys I'm going to play with, meet the coaches, and just give our all, you know, to try to win. Who knows, maybe we'll win, but like to show ourselves in a good light.
Right, yeah. We're gonna continue to talk about that. You know, we'll get him here working out through summer league and whatnot. But I mean, we're excited about him as a player. Like, he does bring a lot of versatility, and he's tough. Has an IQ for the game. And when he mentioned like that pass first, he sees the floor, and at that size, like, I hope he was bigger than me. They told me he was, just standing up there. But I mean, on paper he is. Like, that's something that like gets us excited. So more size to our group is good.
Is there any chance that he could be stashed overseas for a year? Is that even on the table at all? Is there discussions about that?
We'll see. You know, we have to nail in our stashing process, just in general. You know, we haven't done too many of those, but you know, we're kind of all options are on the table. But no, we're pretty high on it. We'll see how that ends up.
When you were targeting a second-round pick, AJ, was it Nicole you were looking at the entire time, or
Yes.
was it the guy?
Yeah, through, you know, we had a really high grade on him. So after that first day, and sort of the beauty of the 2 days is it gives you some chances to go back as a group and recalibrate, and started hammering out phone calls. And as we all learned, there was so much movement going on, and we knew teams were willing to give up their second round picks. So when we saw that he was still available, it was a guy we went to go get.
There are a couple of options that you guys still have to kind of look over as far as whether that's Garrison Matthews, Bruno Fernando, and some depth there. How do you hope, you know, this free agency process will help you maybe address that long-term depth and the injuries that happened last year, and maybe curb? I know injuries are a big part of the NBA season, but maybe
Right.
curbing them moving forward.
Right, and those guys, some of the names you mentioned, just their development, you know, it always going to make for tough decisions. But I go from here, you know, this kind of closes the whole draft process. We move into the next thing, so I'll go meet with the group, and we'll lay out kind of what it looks like in the roadmap for those guys, and we'll see what we can do.
What do you kind of feel like your biggest need is going into just free agency right now?
Well, address some of it in the draft, like size and some defensive stuff that we wanted to shore up, and always welcome shooting to the group. So defense and shooting will work well here.
And I asked you a few weeks ago, about summer league play. Is it now set in stone that both of these young guys will play in Vegas during summer league?
Yes, they will.
And then you guys added Ben Peterson to kind of like the health staff a little bit. What are you hoping he will help as far as developing the strength and conditioning program and addressing those injuries?
Yeah, he built out something really cool and kind of fun to see with the 49ers. If there's football fans, like to watch that whole development of that performance staff there. It's been really cool to see. So when we got in contact with him and just him even being available, we wanted to take advantage of that. So very process-oriented, aligns with our values as an organization, which comes as no surprise at this point. So we're excited about him and welcoming him and his family to Atlanta.
Landry, with the kind of the philosophy in the NBA changing so much, of course, we've recently seen the Celtics win the finals and them kind of play small ball, having more wing players on the floor. You guys are now very wing heavy. Yeah. Are you hoping to have the potential of actually having more lineups on the court where you'll see maybe 4 wing players, ball handlers out there?
I mean, if it shakes that way, sure. Spoke about Coach Quinn and just the things that he's able to do and the creativity that he has. So if you give him players that are versatile, regardless of position, you could see some or maybe traditional funky lineups, but as you mentioned today, you've got to be able to maneuver with different lineups out there.
You got time for one more?
How much emphasis and hope do you just hope that Zachary will be an impact player or just play in his rookie season for you guys?
I mean, to be an impact player, that's the hope for all of our guys. With him specifically, we feel like he can do that. Like I mentioned before, the size and the shooting and the defensive versatility that he has. I mean, he has a great foundation for success. And playing as long as he had before this in a pro league, he has those pro habits as well. So always going to be some development for our guys. But for him, the floor that he has right now is really good.
So, Kelly, just as soon as we were talking about the fit and how
not every time news breaks in the middle of this particular show.
Right. I mean, this is almost perfect timing for the breaking news to come down because we were just talking about Hawks going into it. And we're talking about fit and how Zachary Risacher was going to fit in with Dejounte Murray and Trae Young.
Well, he won't have to worry about fitting in with Dejounte Murray. Shams and Woj just tweeted maybe 5 minutes ago in the middle of that interview, Dejounte Murray is now a New Orleans Pelican.
Traded to the Pelicans. A Woj bomb right in the middle of Sports Tonight.
Shams is saying Dejounte Murray to the Pelicans, Larry Nance Jr., Dyson Daniels, and 2 first-rounders to the Hawks.
Well, look, I mean, I think when we were first trying to really figure out where Risacher's role was going to be. So, right, just think about it. They traded A.J. Griffin yesterday, and so now they get rid of Dejounte Murray. So it looks like what we've talked about, the reshaping of the Atlanta Hawks is really underway now because let's just be real. Anyone who watched Trae Young and Dejounte Murray the last 2 seasons saw that was not a good fit. It just wasn't. It wasn't working with the backcourt. It wasn't working with the smaller backcourt. Those are 2 individually really good basketball players. But from a fit standpoint, last couple years, you just saw no matter what, it wasn't going to fit. And we've seen this sort of thing before. I mean, I remember in Golden State many years ago when you had Steph Curry and then you had Monte Ellis for a lot of years, and then they drafted Klay Thompson, and they got rid of Monte Ellis. To me, this is sort of the same thing here. And so, and this also goes back to something I mentioned a while ago. I mean, look, they could trade Trae Young this offseason, and then what I'm about to say is out the window. But Trae Young right now, he's the center of this franchise still, right? I mean, so you're going to have to be able to fit with him.
For the next however long he's a Hawk.
Yeah, for however long he's a Hawk. He's the guy who sells, when you go into a store to buy merchandise, you see Trae Young jerseys, right? He's the centerpiece for what they have. So I think everything that they're building is to make that fit better. So when people said one of them are going to have to go, it's got to be Dejounte Murray or it's going to be Trae Young. There was never a doubt in my mind that guy gone was going to be Dejounte Murray.
Oh, certainly. they drafted Trey. He's been here his entire NBA career.
Yeah.
And they've been building around him his entire NBA career.
Right.
We've had arguments about whether or not Trey Young is a superstar, whether or not he's a guy that they can build around.
Star power almost always wins out.
Yeah, star power wins out, and this is clearly a show of confidence by Landry Fields that Trey Young can be the guy.
Yeah, because what you're putting now by drafting Risacher, now that's a bigger guy who can be a wing. He's about 6'8", right? So that's more of the sort of backcourt that you're looking for to be with a guy like Trey Young. And make no mistake about it, we've seen it time and time again. Star power wins out in the NBA. Trey Young has star power. We've seen it many different. We saw. Look, we're about to talk about Bronny James, right?
Yeah.
Look at that. Look how that star power won out with LeBron James in LA, making sure Bronny got dealt there.
And Rich Paul calling teams saying if you draft him, he's going to Australia.
Right. And Rich Paul, I also believe he's Dejounte Murray's agent too. So he probably looked at this situation and said, "Look, man, this doesn't fit for my client." He's also the agent for Trey Young. So
and speaking of Lakers, Waj says one of the first-round picks is a 2025 first-rounder via the Lakers.
Okay.
The other first-rounder is the less favorable 2027 first-rounder between Milwaukee and New Orleans.
Okay.
So whichever of those ends up lower in the first round.
There's a lot to unpack there, but in the coming days we'll talk more and more about this as far as how this unfolds and everything. But once again, breaking news: Hawks guard Dejounte Murray dealt to the New Orleans Pelicans for some pieces back in return. So make sure you tune in tonight, obviously, to Atlanta News First News at
7, 10, and 11.
7,
10 o'clock
11.
will be on Peachtree TV.
Yeah. So we'll talk.
Bailey's going to have some words on it. So
our sports director, Bailey Burmaster, is going to have a lot more on that deal as far as what that means for the Hawks and everything like that. So we'll get more into that a little bit later. So our next topic.
We were already talking about it, the nepotism in sports with Bronny James.
Yeah, so that's been a huge topic the last couple of days. If you watch social media, if you're into social media at all, it's been a huge topic as far as really just everyone getting bent out of shape about what took place with the Lakers as far as super agent Rich Paul and LeBron James maneuvering to get Bronny James in Los Angeles with the 55th overall pick. And so that just brought me to use like several examples around, because we talked about it yesterday, right, Ellie? We talked about how nepotism is nothing new. It's been happening in sports forever. It's been happening in the world forever in pretty much every walk of life, right?
Yeah.
So I was just going over some sports examples, right? So I pulled up a couple different things here. So how about this? So obviously we know here about Kyle Shanahan, right? I mean, the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. Kyle worked for his dad as an offensive coordinator with the Washington Redskins from 2010 through 2013. Stephen Jones, who's the vice president and CEO and director of player personnel for the Dallas Cowboys. Do you know who his father is?
Bill Parcells.
Jerry.
Yeah.
Who owns the team?
Jerry.
Right? That's his dad. So
like every single one of Jerry Jones's kids is like an executive.
Right.
In the team.
With the Dallas Cowboys, right? How'd they get that job? How'd they get that job?
I wonder.
Right. I wonder how they got that job. So, and look at Steven Belichick for 12 seasons, coached under a pretty famous head coach there, who just happens to be his dad in New England, Bill Belichick, right? So, and to wrap this one up, so we also go to college basketball. Richard Pitino for about 5 seasons coached at Louisville under his famous dad and multiple NCAA championship winning coach, Rick Pitino. So, look.
And I think there was that recent study, or at least like analysis by The Athletic, about colleges that overperform and underperform at the NBA draft. And if your dad played in the NBA, you overperform your slot by like 30%.
Right. Look.
So that's as big of a plus to you as going to like Kentucky.
Yeah. So look. So I mean, this is, I guess the whole moral of this story is when we talk about people like Kyle Shanahan, when we talk about Stephen Jones in Dallas, when we talk about Richard Pitino in Louisville, when we talk about Steve Belichick in New England, these are people that got their career started because of their dads. they're powerful fathers who would earn the right to be able to pick and choose who they want working on their staffs or working under them, or who were owners of teams like Jerry Jones was able to make his son the one of the higher ups with that organization. This has been happening for years. All LeBron James and Rich Paul did was get together and figure out a way to make Bronny James not even a first-round pick, not even a second-round pick with the 55th pick overall, which we talked about yesterday and said that's normally a player who gets cut year after year. I can't even remember who the 55th pick was in any recent
pick.
draft.
They're going to
ever.
stash him as the 12th man.
Exactly.
They're going to get a couple photo ops just because
They'll
it's
get on the court
story.
for a few minutes together. They'll play a few games together, and it'll probably all be over, and then it'll be much made about nothing. But however, nonetheless, it'll be a very historic moment for LeBron and his family. So that makes it great, and hopefully we all get to watch. So, all right, once again,
Let's go.
The countdown continues. Like we pretty much talk daily here about the NCAA football game that's coming out for the first time in who knows how long, since 2014, right? So daily they've been putting out different rankings as far as the best teams, as far as the best at what, the best home crowds, the best defense, the best offense. They've really been going through the, really building this thing up. So, Ellie, who would you think they put as the number one team, the number one rated team on the game?
I wonder.
Well, we probably wouldn't even be talking about it unless it was the UGA Dogs, right?
Of course it
Number
was
one.
the Dogs. Of course. Who else was it going to be?
Look, I mean, who knew, right? I mean, who knew they'd have them as the number one ranked team for the college football game? So, look, that's pretty dope. So when you look through the list right here, I'll just name down the top 5 real quick. They have 95. They're at 94 overall. Sorry. They have UGA at 94 overall. They have Oregon at number 2, 94 overall.
That's an interesting choice.
Alabama at number 3.
Okay, I can see that. It's Bama.
Oh, wait a minute. Do I have the right? Make sure I have the right list here. Let me make sure. I want to make sure I have the right list.
Hold on. I'm going to...
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at the offense. I'm sorry. Who's overall team rankings? Here we go. I thought that looked kind of weird, though, but I think it's some of those same teams. All right, so here we go. Georgia number 1, Ohio State number 2, Oregon number 3, Alabama number 4, and Texas number 5. Fair. That's fair, right?
That's fair.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, when you kind of – is Oregon really going to be that good this season? That's kind of crazy. I mean,
that's a lot of faith in Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect them to really fire out like that, but obviously the game loves the University of Georgia. They love what Kirby Smart has going on there. And I think more importantly, they love the
I
fact
think the
that
only people who don't love what Kirby Smart has done is other SEC fans.
Well, of course, because he's normally whooping their team, So, yeah, so in Alabama, I think that was a really good hire this offseason, a head coach.
I think it's a good hire, but I feel for the guy the moment he loses a game. Because people are going to rip him apart.
Of course, it's all part of it. Look, in order to achieve great things, you have to be willing to step out there. And look, I mean, it's happened. He's not the first guy to replace a legend. I mean, it's one of those things where maybe what helps him a little bit is that Alabama wasn't really winning championships the last couple seasons. So, but if they were coming off like a winning season, if they had won the championship last year and Nick Saban stepped aside, I think it would have been a whole lot harder. But look, well, we'll see how that works out. But that should be really some really good SEC battles between UGA and Alabama for years to come.
All right, Scott, what's on your mind?
Not a whole lot on my mind. I guess I'll just kind of recap that trade. I mean, just with Dejounte Murray once again, we'll recap Dejounte Murray sent to the Pelicans. Who is it? For Dyson Daniels.
Dyson Daniels, Larry Nance Jr.
I covered Larry Nance Jr. in
a
Cleveland.
2025 first rounder and a 2027 first rounder.
So Dyson Daniels, that's a bigger guard. I mean, he was drafted a few years ago in the first round by the Pelicans. A bigger guard. You can sort of see what the Hawks are doing now. They're getting bigger guards to pair with Trae Young to increase their height, increase their size. And what that also does is it helps you better defensively. So it's no secret right now what the Hawks' plan is moving forward is to put bigger guys around Trae Young, get a bigger, more athletic team to help them not just offensively, but defensively.
What's on my mind?
What's on your mind?
What was the United States doing last night? 2-1. Come on now. We're running out of time.
Well, look, happy weekend, everybody. We're heading to the weekend now. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll be back with some more sports tonight next week. But remember, we're going to really go in depth more tonight on Atlanta News First at 7, 10, 11. More about this Dejounte Murray trade headed to the Pelicans. Until then, see ya.